Welcome back. I am. I'm going to try to do this segment. There's a lot of things flying around right now with Liquid Lunch, and there's people that want me to get out of the studio. There's other people that want me to go back to the studio in New York. There are a lot of opportunities, and a bunch of different networks are actually watching Johnny T and seeing if I fit the bill. They're saying I'm not like your traditional guy, which I'm not, but I'm going to try for this segment to play it straight. And be like a regular newsman. So, all right, welcome back. It's just past the top of the hour here in New York, coming to you live from the Corona Bunker Studios. Lots of things going on around the world today, and we need as many independent investigative journalists as we can get, as the media seems to be hijacked by the left. Joining us right now is Dylan Howard, who is just that, an investigative journalist. He's also the author of Epstein, Dead Men Tell No Tales, Spies, Lies, and Blackmail. Dylan, thank you so much for joining us on Liquid Lunch today.
Thank you, John. I do like the bipolar attitude of John and then News John.
Yeah.
Whichever way you want to go, I'm happy to play the role.
Okay, well, thank you for that, Dylan. And to go with my professionalism, I will be having a martini while we peruse these topics here. But go out, please, and check out Epstein, Dead Men Tell No Tales for Dylan. Buy the book, check it out. And also, you were talking, and I know you've been investigating for quite some time, the whole Ghislaine Maxwell. And, many people are confused even by the pronunciation of her name, on top of all the news coming out about her. Can you clear the air for us?
Well, in terms of the pronunciation of her name, some people will say it's Ghislaine, others will say Ghislaine. One thing's for certain, we will find out on Friday when she makes her first appearance in court, which is going to be a very critical hearing because it's going to provide John insight into what has taken place since she was moved from New Hampshire to the Brooklyn Correctional Facility Center. Now, typically in a law enforcement investigation like this, she would be put in a cell and either her defense counsel or her would agree to cooperate with the prosecutors and potentially become whistleblower, which would make a number of individuals very, very nervous. But sources close to Ghislaine tell me that she's unlikely to do that. She's unlikely to want to tell all about Prince Andrew and others. But the reality of the situation is if she wants to reduce sentence by cooperating, you don't get to pick and choose who you tell on. You don't get to cherry pick. So we don't know if Ghislaine Maxwell is singing like a canary. The other option that she has is to defend the case. But what we do know from the Southern District of New York is they've likely built up a very compelling case, which makes it almost impossible for Ghislaine Maxwell to be able to defend it. The Southern District notoriously doesn't pursue cases in a court of law unless the indictment is unimpeachable. And then, of course, she might plead to lesser counts, but still serve jail time and attempt to try and reduce the 35 years jail sentence that she is currently facing. So Friday's hearing is critical, not only to determine if she's Ghislaine or Ghislaine, but also whether she's going to defend.
So we continue with Dylan Howard. He's one of the most feared journalists in Hollywood. Today he happens to be in the Hamptons with the limousine liberal crowd. But he is one of the greatest investigative reporters around. He's cracked open scandals that brought down Mel Gibson, Charlie Sheen, Hulk Hogan, Paul Dean. What can you tell us from your investigating of this that's gone on? I mean, there are all these things out there that, her father was a Mossad agent, that her two sisters are her sisters are were intelligence agents. Is there any truth behind this rumor that she may have been cooperating for quite some time?
I don't know if she's been cooperating with the federal government. It would seem unlikely. There is a theory out there that she might well have been in the witness protection program and cooperating with the feds, providing information about others that could be charged. And that's why it took 12 months. But that conspiracy theory in itself is simply knocked down by the fact that a grand jury sat and confirmed the 6-count indictment against her. Now, with regards to her intelligence connections, it was indeed Epstein, Dead Men Tell No Tales, the book, that blew the lid off the connections between Israel intelligence, Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and this, of course, dates back to her late father, the British media tycoon who once owned the New York Daily News, who was killed mysteriously off the back of his yacht, believed murdered. He was working for Israelis Mossad. Now, that has been confirmed by his spy handler. So there is an interesting geopolitical element to this story that is going to make it even more interesting in terms of Ghislaine's prosecution.
So, Dylan, let me ask you this. We just had on Zen Sams, who's done some investigative reporting for us in the past during the Epstein-Weinstein days on the New York City DA's office. And Cyrus Vance here in New York tends to go a little softer on those who have donated to his different political campaigns. Can you see Ghislaine getting a sort of free pass here with all the corruption in the New York City DA's office?
Well, there's a difference between the New York City's DA's office and who is prosecuting this crime. This is being prosecuted by the Southern District of New York, which is the federal branch of the Department of Justice, an organization that is notoriously tough on crime. And Bill Barr has already said unambiguously that they intended to hold alleged co-conspirators to account for their role in the Epstein sex trafficking network. Let me explain a little bit about how I believe the SDNY got to this position to indict her. They were able to turn, in my view, a number of alleged co-conspirators, hypothetically housemaids, pilots, drivers, staff of Jeffrey Epstein, who knew what took place but never reported it to police. By threatening them with potential prosecution, they were able to get a corroborating witness and probably and most likely entered into an immunity or non-prosecution agreement with those alleged co-conspirators to provide evidence against Ghislaine Maxwell. And when she makes that appearance in court on Friday, if she hasn't agreed to cooperate, then the Southern District of New York will lay out in finite detail just how comprehensive and compelling their case is.
Understood. So, will you? You're a great author. Again, we're speaking with Dylan Howard. He's an investigative journalist, one of the most feared journalists in Hollywood. He's also the author of Epstein, Dead Men Tell No Tales, Spies, Lies, and Blackmail. This sounds like a real Hollywood drama almost, with all of the stuff behind Ghislaine Maxwell. Do you think Ghislaine Maxwell killed herself?
She's killed herself in terms of her crimes. She remains alive in Brooklyn. I don't think she's going to see the light of day anytime soon.
Yeah, I was joking. Many people are. Many people.
The allegations about whether or not Jeffrey Epstein was off as a result of his intelligence connections remains a viable question. Now, I don't feed into the theory that he was executed at the behest of someone.
Oh, no, he was.
I certainly do believe that he was given the means and opportunity to commit suicide. He was a man who was staring at life in prison. He was going to rot in hell. And he'd been released back in the prison population some 2 weeks after an attempted suicide attempt. Now, that just doesn't happen in correctional facilities, nor are you afforded linens, appliances with electrical cords, and medication. It was almost like he was given a buffet of ways in which to kill himself, a smorgasbord, if you like. So I believe that Jeffrey Epstein did commit suicide, but was aided and abetted in that process.
Well, you and I will agree to disagree, because I believe the Clinton cartel had a hand in his offing. But you may be right. I did have the head. I did have the head.
What proof is there for that?
I did have the head psychologist from the MCC on my show, and he said that those type of prisoners are not provided with the type of sheets that you can hang yourself with. So
you think the Clinton establishment killed Jeffrey Epstein? Is that what you're saying?
I think somewhere in there they had a hand in the moving of the guards and the non-recordings on the floor that he was on. And I think you're right that they gave him all the means and opportunity and said, do it or else.
But why would the Clintons be behind that?
Well, because I think Bill Clinton's right up there with had the most trips, on his flights, and I think that that could open a can of worms that could take down a former president. So I think it's pretty serious.
There is no doubt that Bill Clinton has not been forthcoming with the actual truth about his.
Hey Dylan, listen. We got to take a quick break here. Can you hang around for a minute? We'll talk a little more in the next segment. All right, we're going to take a quick break right here. This is great stuff. More with Dylan Howard right after this. Don't go anywhere.